Hi everyone, I'd like to thank one of the sponsors of the podcast, St. Romeo, who provide great skincare products for men. I'm going to show you some of the products. St. Romeo Facial Cleanser, Rock and Roll Face Scrub. And if you had a rock and roll lifestyle, you're going to need a face scrub. This is their deep cleansing charcoal bar. How putting charcoal on your face cleans it, I have no idea, but it works. This is one of my favorites, the Cucumber Eye Gel. Must be for vegans. And they've got heaps of stuff for your hair too. Shampoos, styling creams, and Stronghold for your hair. Obviously, I don't need any of these. I'd like to thank St. Romeo for being one of the sponsors for the Joe Avati podcast. Hi, this is Joe Avati, and today I find myself in my Melbourne studio recording my podcast series, A Serious Chat with a Comedian. Well, I'm very excited about having this guest on today. She's funny, she's sassy, she's Italian, she's a reality TV star. She was on The Real Housewives of Melbourne. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Let's go and meet her, Lydia Schiavello. Lydia Schiavello, thank you for coming on to my podcast. How are you? How you going?
Hi, Joe. I'm really well.
You look good.
Well, thank you.
Well, you've been holidaying for, like all the elites do in January. What, you went to the snow?
I did. Andrew and I are, we follow the snow, so we're skiers. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? Because, I do a lot of work in Canada, obviously, and when it's freezing,
it's cold.
People don't go away. It's really interesting. They just stay. I mean, there's Toronto's like minus 20 or minus 30. It's snow everywhere, right?
Yes.
And it's interesting why. So I like in January where it's nice and hot here in Australia, because don't forget a lot of people are watching from overseas here too. Sure. In Australia, it's nice and hot.
Yes.
The last place I would want to go is to the snow. What's the attraction there? I'm obviously love skiing.
We do. Andrew and I are skiers, and it's the time when he has time out from work. So,
right.
His business, is closed, so he has a good chunk of a holiday.
Yeah.
Plus, we had a 10-year wedding anniversary. So
and you went to Milan, because that's where you got married, right?
We got married in Florence.
Oh, in Florence, right.
And we didn't want to go back to Florence, but we could have, but I thought anywhere Italy.
Yeah.
So he thought Milan's really lovely,
Yeah.
and then we went, to Austria, Switzerland, and all those amazing places, and skied, and it was just amazing. And I'm still, slightly jet lagged.
Where's your? Because a lot of people go to Japan to ski. So right now we're in the first week of, because I'm not sure when this episode's going to air. So right now we're in the first week of Feb. A lot of people are nicking off to Japan, and. Vince Sorrenti, the comedian,
yes,
right? So he said to me, because he lives in, really nice area in Sydney. He said to me he went to Aspen in January, and in Aspen, Colorado, in January, it's like walking down the main street of Double Bay. Everyone from Sydney's in Aspen.
Yeah, look, it's also very social, and it's America.
Yeah.
Andrew and I probably prefer the culture in Europe.
Yeah.
Plus, we have a lot of friends in Europe, in St. Anton. He's known for 30, 40 years.
Yeah, right.
So, hence why we tend to go there.
Ski.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
why
love
not?
it.
If you can, why not?
Beautiful culture.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
So let's talk about you then. You're Sicilian, right? You grew up in Melbourne. What part of Melbourne did you grow up in?
So, I grew up. I was born in Footscray Hospital.
Yeah.
And was brought up in Avondale Heights,
right?
Keilor, that area. And then my parents, when I was a very young girl, 8, 9, they bought a hotel in St Kilda. So my parents became publicans.
Right.
Hence why my cousin Joe.
Joe, yeah, of course.
And so we lived together as, two families.
Yeah.
So my mother and her brother, the two families. So we were there for 10 or 12 years.
Yeah.
So I then grew up in... I think St Coleman's is in Balaclava, on Balaclava Road,
right.
And then I went to PCW in Windsor.
Right.
So
school, which is your school, obviously, because I'm from Sydney, so I'm not used to those references. Yeah, right. And what did you do? What did you do after school?
So I was wasn't really doing that much except school, and then I met my former husband,
Right.
Peter. And
So very early on? So you were in your 20s, were you when you guys met?
no,
Oh,
no, I was 16.
wow.
I met Peter.
That's really old school, isn't it?
Yes.
That's like old nonna, sort of getting married at 16. Well, okay, so you met at 16, but when did you
Met
guys
at 16.
get
married? On a soccer field, a Juventus soccer field,
Right.
believe it or not.
Yeah.
And he invited me out,
Yeah.
and it just led from there. 17, I was engaged. 18, I was married. 19, I was pregnant. 20, I had my daughter.
And what
Monique.
year was that?
86.
Yeah, right. So
85,
86, that's, that was still like, if it was in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s, it was kind of normal. But in 80s, it would have been, all your friends, when did they get married? They wouldn't have got married.
Whilst I was breastfeeding, everyone was at school and university.
Yeah.
So I had a very, very different life.
Yeah.
But, Joe, it was really different then. For me to go out,
Yeah.
I either had to have a serious boyfriend or a serious excuse.
Right, okay. So your parents were the old school where they were still sort of very
strict.
Very strict, very traditional. Yeah, right.
My father, when I was going out with Peter, my father said, if you're not home by midnight, I'm going to cut your legs off.
Yeah.
Because
it's so funny for all these ethnic parents, what's going to happen at 1 a.m. that's not going to happen at 11 p.m. if it needs to happen. You know what I mean? And so,
exactly.
Yeah, interesting.
And so, and I thought, gosh, I need my legs because I was a runner. I was a runner. I was an athlete.
Yeah.
And so, it was very, very, very different to what it is today.
Yeah. So you got married and you had the 3 kids. There's 3 boys, haven't you?
No, I've got a beautiful daughter and two boys.
Two
so
boys,
Monique,
yeah.
Anton and Lorenzo.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And you're also a nonna, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Grandma.
I know grandma, yeah. But I was going to lead to that later, but you've said it now.
Okay.
You're a glamma. But
Yes.
we'll ask you why you call yourself a glamma later. Well, it's obvious why, but we'll get the backstory to that. So you got married. Just tell us a little bit about that before we get on to what sort of launched you in the public eye.
Well, look, I got married. I have amazing, 3 kids.
Yep.
I was a very committed mum.
Yeah.
Peter,
Did you work back then? Were you,
Yeah.
were you
I
in a
worked-
family business?
Yes, I
Because your
was-
ex-husband was a developer, am I right in saying? Or a
in
builder?
office furniture.
Oh, right, office
So,
furniture, right, okay.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
still is.
Yeah.
And we used to, provide furniture for, all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to go to all the exhibitions and, meetings wherever I could.
Yeah.
And which was amazing.
Yeah.
We travelled so much. And I was very lucky to have an incredible mum
Yeah.
because she was the nanny.
Yeah.
And help, of course.
Yeah.
But, we just did a lot of travelling. I worked, with him as a very supporting wife.
Yeah.
And it just evolved from there.
Yeah.
And, until it all fizzled out. I think we met very young.
Well, yeah, I was going to
And-
say, you're young. When you're in your 30s, you look back and you just don't, you.
What are you? You're so different in your
Yeah.
20s.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would say to kids today, before you do anything, be in your 30s.
Yeah.
Get married. Don't get a tattoo. Don't get a tattoo before 30. Get it after 30 because,
Yeah.
When you're
Yeah.
22, every year you look back and you go, I've changed. And then when you're 30, then you really look back and then it grows exponentially, the changes that happen. Don't
Yeah.
get a tattoo. Kids, if you're watching, don't get a tattoo till you're 30 when your head's a little bit more stable and you
Yeah.
go, do I really need it or don't I?
That's true.
So, of course, you're going to change. Things happen and, and then, you separated.
We just grew apart.
Yeah.
We're still really good,
Yeah.
very respectful.
Yeah.
Our children come first.
Yeah,
And,
that's good. If you can do that, then it's great.
our grandchildren have birthdays and,
Yeah.
and whatever, and we're all together.
Yeah.
And it's really, really good,
Yeah.
And our children, all the kids are really happy.
Yeah.
Putting that aside, we separated. We just grew apart.
Yeah.
And now,
when did you get married to Andrew?
I got
So
married
10
to
years
Andrew
ago, right?
10 years ago.
Because your anniversary, you
Yeah,
said that. Yeah, right.
2013. And
Yeah.
2014 is when 2013, late 2013, I was approached by Housewives,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you that in a second.
Yeah.
And then 14, we started filming.
Yeah.
So, which was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's
So
huge.
you get onto this show, which, for those of you who are watching who don't know, Lydia was on a show, a very popular show, which, is a franchise all over the world, really. What's it called?
The Real Housewives.
The Real Housewives of Melbourne.
Melbourne.
And of course, there's the Real Housewives of probably of New York and LA and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But the Real Housewives of Melbourne, I mean, some of my American friends love watching it.
Yes.
American fans even, that I know. That particular franchise was really popular
Yes.
in America. There's a friend of mine who lives in Pittsburgh, and she goes, myself and all my friends here just love it. Now she's an Australian who lives in
Right.
Pittsburgh, but obviously her friends are American.
Yeah, of
right.
course.
And they loved it. So explain to me. This is what's fascinating to me. Okay, let me ask you this before I get onto that. Had you had any media experience, been on telly before, done any of that kind of stuff? No.
Nothing.
So
Nothing.
So what were you doing? And you got to pardon my ignorance because I'm from Sydney and I moved here about 12 years ago.
Yes.
So what were you doing? Were you a socialite? Were you in the papers all the time? Why did they come to you? What did you have? And I don't mean I'm not being facetious by asking.
No. No, I totally understand. So I think look, I don't really know, but a couple of women, friends of mine,
Yep.
were approached and said, we're looking for some influential women
Yep.
in Melbourne. Do you know of anyone? And they said, yep. I then got a message through Facebook.
Right.
And all of a sudden I get, oh, hi, we'd like to interview you for a TV show.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, they must have the wrong Lydia.
Right.
And so I deleted. And then,
Right.
that afternoon or 2 days later, whatever, another message came through, we'd like to interview you. Can we please have a chat? Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And I thought, hang on a minute. These people are quite forceful. I should have known then what they were going to be like. But anyway, I love that cross up there, by the way.
Oh, right. Okay.
I have the same one.
Really?
And I'll tell you
Okay.
about that later.
Okay. All right.
And
I
so,
love how you're talking to me and then looking around.
yeah, but don't we all do that? Don't Wogs do that? Don't Italians do that?
Yeah, but they don't normally, mention it during the middle of a podcast. They might have said
okay.
it later. You might have
cool.
said, you know what, while we were talking,
Yeah,
I
but
noticed
this is
that
a-
cross. No,
this
but
is a
it's good. I'm
really
glad
cool-
you did that. It's good.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
a really cool
Yeah.
chat.
What we've got to do, Marcello, so we've got to talk to our technical director here.
Yeah.
What we'll do later is we'll get a close-up of that cross and we'll splice it in.
Yeah.
Okay, so that way everyone who
Understands,
watches
because
understands, yeah.
I lost a little boy and I have the same
Oh, right.
cross. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, they approached me,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, okay, well, look, I don't know what you're talking about, what this Housewives franchise is. And meanwhile, I'm trying to Google what the hell is this
Yeah.
franchise.
So had there been one already aired? Where
No,
was the first
Melbourne
one?
was the first, and I'm one of the original girls.
Really?
However,
Okay, I didn't know
but
that.
it was showing in
Yeah.
America, the Beverly Hills,
Right.
Atlanta. They're all been showing, for ages, for
Okay,
years.
so that was
couple of
going.
years.
So that was obviously started. That was popular in America. They
Yes.
thought, hey, let's do it in Australia.
Yes.
Let's start finding.
Women.
Did they do a Real Housewives of Sydney?
They did after us, after
Yeah.
four, I think 3 or 4 seasons.
Because you would have thought they would have gone to Sydney first. Because okay, I love Sydney. Sydney's my hometown, but Sydney's a lot more pretentious in that. That when they would think of, the Housewives.
we're just different.
It's
We're just different. There's a different lifestyle,
Yeah.
different climate, and different girls. I mean, yeah, Sydney is amazing, but Melbourne's very different.
Yeah.
The culture, the arts,
Yep.
the restaurants. Although Sydney has caught up. Anyway,
has,
so
yeah.
a couple of girls put me forward and said, "Well, look, Lydia's great. She's got a great, wardrobe. Her husband's a part-time, not a part-time pilot. He has a hobby of flying. He loves flying, and so
Actually, he's got a plane, doesn't
we
he?
have a jet. Yeah,
He's got a jet. Wow.
and
Doesn't everyone? I thought everyone has a jet. Yeah.
well, everyone has an incredible house in Portsea. We have a jet. You know,
Why not?
same. Anyway, so ours takes us to different places, not just one.
Yeah.
postcode.
Good way of looking at it.
Anyway, so they sort of said, we want to interview you. Can we do that? Can we have the camera? And then they sort of asked me questions, and I have a little sense of humour.
Yeah.
They went, great, we love you. Can we start?
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was getting myself into, no idea. I was, 42, had no idea. And, in fact, producers in Melbourne had no idea what they were doing either because it was a new franchise.
Right.
It was a new thing.
Yeah.
You know, reality TV was really new in Australia. I mean, Big Brother was, you know, sort of there, but Housewives franchise, sort of everyone loved the American. But anyway, so that's how it all started, and then it just kept rolling.
Yeah, and before we get into the details of it, so tell us how many episodes did you do? How long was it on for? How many
There
years?
were 12 episodes each season, and I did 4 seasons. Did start the 5th season. COVID came, and I just put my hands up and thought, you know, it's too hard. You know, people are dying around the world, and everything's being destroyed, and I can't be up and do a show and go, hey, you know, because it's a reality show. It's what's actually happening in your life. There's nothing scripted. Yeah. Of course, producers have to keep a story, you know, the continuous story, but it was real. Yeah. It was real things happening.
So what was interesting, I remember once, I think I came to your place. Did it air on a Sunday night? Was it a Sunday night?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So I clearly remember this. So I came over Sunday night and it was airing. So in your house, you got two areas where the TVs are going.
Yes.
So
good memory.
So we were in the back area.
Yes.
And all the Italians were in the back area. So I think maybe Frank Stavala was there as well. He came later. There was some of your cousins. Maybe your brother was there.
Yeah.
And then the other section, it was Andrew.
Yes.
And all his kids, because he's got kids as well.
Yes.
And we're all watching this airing.
Yes.
And you're giving like live commentary of the show as it's happening while we're all watching it.
Stupid idiot. Why did I say that?
Right. But what was apparent to me was that you didn't even know. I mean, whilst you remember, like, obviously what you had done while you were being filmed.
Yes.
You never saw the final edit, right? That was probably the first time that you're seeing what the producers are editing. And your reaction, I'll never forget your reaction to it. Like, you were surprised, you were shocked, you were like, that's bullshit, that's not really, you know. So tell us the ins and outs of it, how it worked. What do they do? So they come, they film you, every day, every second day, once a week? What do they do?
Okay, they don't follow you around.
Right.
But they have set days, set times, so we can do hair and makeup, you know, blah, blah, blah. So what happens is there's a story. So if Gina and I were mates, and like in one season and episodes, a couple, her father passed away. And so I was very close to Gina, still am, and her family. So I was emotionally involved with Gina while this was all happening. Yeah. So we made scenarios of what was going on, how it all happened, and blah, blah, blah. And I think, being an Italian, how I supported her with, you know, the wogs bring food, you know, they help the family. I did that for Gina, and she was really quite surprised, you know. And so that was an episode of how helping. So what producers do is set it up. They don't tell us what to say, although they know what we're going to talk about. And in between, you know, we'll talk about the other girls that were involved in the Housewives, whether it was, you know, Petit Fleur or Venus or Janet or Jackie, you know, Gamble. And so we just had other little scenarios with the girls, and we would say, you know, did anyone come to the funeral? Did anyone come and visit, you know, Gina? And Gina will say, you know, I've known Janet, or I've known so-and-so for so long, and they didn't even, you know, say, do you know what I mean? So that's how little scenarios happened. Storylines happened.
Did you know Gina before the show?
I knew of the Ginarellis, and I knew that Yes, I knew Gina, but I didn't know her really well.
Did you know any of the other housewives?
I knew Andrea Moss.
Yeah.
I knew Chica, and because we used Chica or the Big Brute for catering.
Yeah.
No one else actually.
Yeah, right. So obviously then for you to start talking about the other housewives, you know, like sort of separate to when you're all together, you must have had a lot of time together. Like, you know, got a part of me because, you know, I spend most of my time on the road touring and away from the country. I hardly watch any TV or films and stuff. So you know, you got a part of my ignorance there. So anyone watching is going, "What do you mean, Joe? Don't you know? Don't you follow the story?" No, well, I didn't know the story, right?
Yeah.
So what? Because this is what's intriguing to me: the backstories. You know, what happened. So they film everyone separately, but obviously you guys, the girls, sorry, must have a lot of time together to get to want to know.
Yeah.
How do you got to know what to bitch about?
Yeah, okay, because the producers had their little ways of poking us.
Right.
And so they would also stir things up behind the scenes. So by the time we got in front of camera, I would be livid with Janet or with someone else, you know. And so they would stir us up behind the scenes. You know, you said that. And I thought, hang on a minute. No, I didn't. How did that happen?
Yeah, right.
You know, but because producers were stirring us all up.
Yeah, so would you ever see, and I'm sure you probably did, but, you know, talk to me a little bit about it. Did you ever, like, see a reaction that you've had on...
Joe, there was a lot of made-up stuff.
Yeah.
And that was where everyone used to get confused. But then we understood what was going on and we played the game.
Yeah.
Right?
It's interesting, isn't it, reality TV, the way it works?
Oh, God.
Because a lot of, you know, like...
People don't actually realise how hard and stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, there were days where I used to go home crying. Thank God I had Figaro, my Italian greyhound.
Right.
And Andrew, my God.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, because a friend of mine was on My Kitchen Rules. They were a couple. And they were saying that, you know, when they first start, you know, they put out all the dishes and they've got to comment. They've got to say a positive thing about the dish and they've got to say a negative thing. Before it went to air, what they did is they got my friend's negative comments back to back, right? So before it went to air, it just seemed like that she was the bitch who would just say the worst things.
Yeah.
They never said the nice things that she said. It was just, this dish is terrible. Oh, my God, that's got no salt. Oh, it needs flavour.
Yeah.
And that's all they did.
So what the editors would do was collaborate all her negative comments and put it together, which is how my wow. There's a Lydia Schiavello wow, you know.
B-roll sort of
whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And it's wow. Or everything's beautiful. It's beautiful. So all of a sudden there's, memes, 2 or 3 minutes of beautiful, you know.
Yeah.
Which is quite funny, and it's quite.
Well, you've got to look back and laugh now,
right?
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about, so first season comes out, okay? What sort of ratings was it? Well, how many people were watching?
Oh, my God, you'll have to Google it. But it was huge. Yeah. It was really, really huge.
Right.
And the ratings were incredible.
Yeah.
I think Foxtel and...
So it was on Foxtel first?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and Arena
yeah.
channel. So they were just absolutely surprised of how high it rated.
Yeah. Okay, so what happens? When was the first time that you went out?
Okay.
And you went, shit, this is big. Like,
well, I had no idea.
When did you first realise that people went, oh my God, you're Lydia, or when was that first moment that you went, I'm famous? Tell me about that.
Well, with the show, you have to film it, and then you view it, and then the public see it. Yeah. So you're seeing it 3 times, just like, oh my God, did I say that? Yeah. Look, I'm really quite grounded and humble, so I'm very polite, and I was quite taken back how everyone would go, oh my God, can we have a selfie, or can we? Yeah. So it's like, this is really quite beautiful. You know, people really love the show.
But do you remember when, like, can you remember the first time where I don't know, we in the chemist where, we get buying bread. What were you doing? Were you in a restaurant?
Probably at Coles in Toorak.
Yeah, right.
And people coming down the aisles and going, oh my God, that's Lydia. And that's Lydia.
Right,
and they go, oh, we love you. Can we come and take a photo? And I'm like, sure, absolutely, But look, it was really, full on. But social media 10 years ago and what it is today, and you would know, is completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Now, part of my ignorance, did you girls get paid to do that, or was it just something that how did that work?
Yes, we did.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So my first pay for season 1 and season 2, I gave to the Children's Hospital.
Right.
As a donation,
Yeah.
because Andrew said to me, well, you're doing something like this, you don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, I'll donate it. And hence why I pointed out the cross, because I had a little boy when I was 21 and I've got the same cross. And so the Children's Hospital is something very close to me.
Of course, yeah.
And so hence why I donated.
Yeah. And it's a great
I
thing
had to
that you
fund it. Andrew and I funded,
Yeah.
But, we pay for our hair and makeup.
Yeah.
We paid for all of our wardrobe. Our little scenarios, we paid, So Foxtel would set up, when it was the big promotion.
Yeah.
And, of course, they would fly us here or fly us there or fly us to Dubai or Philippines.
Yeah.
Foxtel paid for all of that. We didn't.
Yeah.
And then when they said, Janet's going to host or Gina's going to host or something like that, production paid or Foxtel paid for it, not we girls did.
Yeah. I mean, it changed your life. I've been in the public eye for 20-something years now, It does. You just look at things differently. You have to react differently. You have to, think twice about doing things. How are people going to see it? Oh, you can't pick your nose. Someone's going to see you.
Yeah.
Things like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you were thrust into the spotlight, but also, you were thrust into the spotlight in a way that was like, you weren't a musician, you weren't a comedian, you weren't an actor.
No.
You were like a real person. So you were probably open to a lot of scrutiny as well.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What about because social media wasn't what it is today. But were you getting trolled? Was there?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The trolling in season 1 and season 2 was horrendous.
Yeah.
It was really, really bad.
Yeah. How did you cope with that? Because you know why? I'll tell you this. Because, sometimes, I get trolled as well. But it seems like being Italian, it doesn't really affect us because we've been trolled all our life. Because, you got that great auntie.
I love that you said that. I really love that you said that. And it's interesting.
You remember the auntie that just tells you you're fat?
Yeah.
Oh, why are you single? How come you're still single? What's wrong with you? Who cut your hair?
Why are you wearing black?
Why are you wearing
black?
Who
died?
We were just used to that.
Yeah. Look, it's interesting, and thanks for saying that, because I think my humour saved my life.
Yeah.
You
have to be self-deprecating as well.
Yeah, you have to tease yourself.
Yeah.
Use your humour.
Yeah.
And I think Brian Welsh, head of Foxtel, did say to me, well done, Lydia, for using your sense of humour, because that actually really got me out. And then people thought, wow, Lydia's got a sense of humour. And I do, but I didn't know that I was allowed to use it.
Yeah, right.
And then people on Twitter and Insta and on all platforms thought, oh my God, she's funny. Yeah. She's got a sense of humour.
Yeah, you're quirky.
Actually,
there's something quirky about you. I mean, and obviously the producers could see that.
Yeah.
And that's why they chose you. Did you? I mean, okay, there's a lot of faceless internet trolls, what do they call them? Keyboard warriors and so on like that.
Yeah.
Did you ever get like someone attack you personally, like in when you were in public? Did someone
No, no, I didn't.
Yeah, right. I've been yelled at a few times by old Italian people.
Oh,
who,
really?
So you're an embarrassment. How dare you make fun of us? And
you know, and they just don't get it. You know, I mean,
No.
my grandparents would come to the show. My parents, you know, I don't need anyone I don't need you know, anyone from the public to tell me if I'm doing something bad. Trust me, my mum and dad would tell me, or my uncles and aunties, or my cousins. They would say, "Joe, what are you doing? You overstepping the mark." You know, that's why I asked. You know, if you been.
No, look, were people that sort of said, you know, how dare you, you say stuff to my housekeeper. I had a housekeeper for 9 years, and I treated her like family and her family like family. And I really absolutely loved this girl, Joanna. And, you know, I'd say to her, oh, my God, you're not going anywhere. I'm taking your passport because you're not going anywhere. Because my affectionate way would say, is saying, you're not going anywhere because I love you so much and, you know, I want you forever. People are like, how dare you take her passport and this and that.
People just don't get it.
It's just like...
It's like when you see a kid is really cute, go, oh my God, I just want to squeeze you.
You just want to eat it.
Yeah, you want to eat, yeah. It's just, that's all you want to do.
Just like what? You know, but until people, I mean, people now are more relaxed and understand it. But, you know, then they didn't. And it was really full on. You know, I've tried being very consistent and, you know, with a lot of things on camera and off camera. But it was really, really hard work. People don't realise that being on a TV show and reality, it's really full on because you don't know what to say, what not to say. And because we had 5, 6, 7 other girls, you had to think, what are they going to say? What are they going to do? So producers were trying to confuse you and you had to be smart enough. And so hence why I remember things that happened in season 1, in episode 3 or 7, because you have to have a great memory. Because one of the other girls would say, but you said this. And then you think, no, I didn't. You're making that up. Liar. You know, your pants are on fire. So, you know, but it was really full on. It was really full on.
Before we move on to other things you've done, highlights of the show and lowlights.
The original girls, actually all the girls. I don't know season 5, of course, but we're all really. We all stick together, and I know if something really happened to each other, we would all support.
Are you still friends with them today?
I'm friends with most of them, not all of them. There are a few that I just can't, you know.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, it's just like you just want to strangle a few. But you know, it's like
you might get in trouble for saying that.
No. But a couple, like
just like you wanted to take passport away from your housekeeper.
Well, you know, in a good way. But yeah, look, they're all the girls. I mean, you know, I still will speak to all of them. Whether they don't want to speak to me, that's their problem. You know, not mine. But
low lights, what would you know?
But in saying that, we had so much fun, so many laughter throughout the show, behind the scenes and on scene. The low times. It's interesting because 10 years of being involved with Housewives and all of a sudden, because it's pretty fast going, and all of a sudden moving away from it, it's cut. Just like, wow, you know, I'm now going back to my private life, you know, that I had before Housewives. Look, there's not really, I mean, there are a couple of things.
Do you miss it?
I miss television. Bits of it I do. Yeah, absolutely. We did have a really good time. And I'm actually ready to do something else.
So are you going to be doing something else? Tell us about that.
You'll have to watch this space. Maybe. Gina and I are talking.
Yep.
You know.
I saw something in the press or on social media about that you might be doing something together.
Yeah. Look, the two of us together, we're really quite funny. I mean, I'm in stitches with her and vice versa. You know.
We should get her on the podcast.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Or even the two of us.
Yeah.
She's just freaking hilarious. We both are. I mean, I still have chats with her.
Yeah.
And our chat's not like 9 minutes or 9 seconds. It's sometimes 90 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just like how?
Yeah.
And the time just goes. I mean, I've been away and we just didn't stop talking.
Yeah.
You know, or communicating.
Yeah. And so before we get into in Lydia's kitchen, because I really want to talk to you about that, because it's an interesting project. So you are a glam ma.
Yes.
See, I had it here ready to tell you, but you gave it away. That's all right.
All right.
So tell us about glam ma, because you're a nonna now. You know,
Yes.
how many grandchildren do you have?
6.
6.
6
So
grandchildren.
did your kids start early too?
Well, my son Anton started, 3 years ago, nearly 4 years ago.
And so how old is he?
He's now 32.
Oh, okay.
So he's
Yeah,
29,
yeah,
28.
Yes.
And, Anton started with beautiful Florence.
Yeah.
And then my daughter Monique had Lucrezia.
Great
So
name. I love that name. What a great
Yeah,
name that is.
yes,
Lucrezia. It's
Lucrezia.
something special. Lucrezia.
Yeah. So the two
Well,
girls...
what do they call it in England? Lucretia.
No, they call her Lucrezia.
Yeah, but when people read it, when they see they say Lucretia.
Yeah, but
It's
there's a Z.
Lucrezia.
Yeah, Lucrezia. And then little Keanu. Keanu. So my stepson Bennett had a little boy,
Yeah.
and he is adorable.
Yeah.
And then we had little Peter.
Yeah.
My son Anton had Peter
Yeah.
and Bonnie.
Yeah.
And then little Ignatius, Monique and Austin.
It's great how all the names are coming back. You know, like there was a time where people were afraid to use very Italian
The old
names.
yeah,
You know? I think
traditional.
Madonna probably started it off when she called her son Rocco. Well, people call him Rocco, but for Southern
us,
Italians, it's Rocco.
Well, she's Italian.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she's Italian. Yeah.
So, well, Peter's after my former husband, so
Right.
his grandfather.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
and I said to Anton, "That's really interesting. You've
Yeah.
called your son after Dad,
Yeah.
you know." And he says, "Well, Mum, why should I break a tradition? It's
Yeah.
a great name. Love Dad." And I thought, "Good on you, son. You're a great guy." And then we've got little Brian. Brian,
Wow.
which is an old name too.
Which is a very old Aussie name, isn't it?
Yeah. So my husband.
I haven't heard many kids being called Brian today.
So
in this day and age.
Yeah. So my husband's father
Mm-hmm.
is Brian.
Wow. So it's like a respectful thing, but in the Anglo-Saxon,
Way.
but it's not really a typical Anglo-Saxon thing to do, is it? To name your grandchild after your, but it is for us. I mean, we know the
Yeah.
names of our children as soon as we meet the in-laws, practically, right?
That's true. That's true. That's true.
It doesn't happen. I mean, my son's called Antonio after my late brother who passed away
Yes,
3 years
I
ago.
knew
So
that.
we called him Antonio out of respect for him,
I love
and
that.
And it's really interesting because when he was born, my dad would have expected me to name him after him. And okay, had my brother not passed away, and had I called him, my dad's name's Francesco. Had I called him Matthew or Matteo, he would have been upset, and he would have been telling people. He would have been saying, he never called him like me.
Yeah.
But when he was born, I said, well, it's a boy, and what did you call him? I said, I called him Antonio. There was... His second name is Francesco.
I thought
so. He's
so.
Antonio Francesco Jack. Jack's my father-in-law.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And,
so you put everyone's names.
Yeah, Antonio Francesco Jack. That's
Right.
his name, right?
Avati.
And
Wow.
so now my dad goes and tells people proudly that he didn't, because he never named him like me. He named him after his brother.
Isn't that beautiful?
And so we spent, because my brother was sick from when he was 6 years old. So,
Yeah, so
we
you spent a lot of-
most of our
And
lives.
you also looked after your brother.
Yeah, in the end,
Yeah.
we all were in the room with him, for 6 months in the end.
Yeah. But even
And-
prior to that, I
Yes,
sort of know
yes,
you, and
yeah.
I sort of understood what
Yeah.
was going on.
Yeah.
But
So we spent years and years and years in the children's hospital. So that's why when you said you donated your fees to the children's hospital, I have a special spot, in my heart for that as well. And, when you grow
Yes.
up and you see, because my brother was 2 years younger than me, and you grow up and you see kids suffering,
yeah. Yeah.
it's awful,
Well, that is a really sensitive subject for me. But, when I was 21, I had little Joseph, and then, he died. But
Was he born? Or was
he was almost, stillborn.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But at full birth. But you actually really appreciate children more so. And so any kid, I am just, I love
They're the
children.
best, aren't they?
Oh, my God.
I mean, I've got a daughter in Canada, in North America,
Yeah,
Canada. So, but obviously, distance is a tyranny, and I don't get to see her as often as I'd like. But
Yes.
That's a different scenario. But they're just great, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
every minute that I spend with her,
Yeah.
and now seeing Antonio growing up and developing, they're just the best. I mean,
Yeah,
if you have,
Yeah, look, I love kids, and all children are really, special. And so I have, it's really absolutely gorgeous.
okay, because I just thought of something I was going to ask you in a minute.
Okay. My stepsons,
Yeah.
I've got, Sam, Josh, and Bennett. So Bennett's had the 2 children.
It was like, because that's right, because that night that I came to your place, so you got Andrew and all his
3
boys
boys.
watching the show in one part of the house. You guys,
Yeah.
It was like the Brady Bunch almost,
Yeah, yeah,
That's the feel.
And they are beautiful. I
Yeah.
love my stepsons.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm quite close to them.
Yeah.
But the most gorgeous thing is that little Keanu calls me Nonna.
Yeah, beautiful.
Because all the others
Yeah.
call me Nonna.
Yeah.
So, and he, when we were overseas, he FaceTimed and it was like, Nonna,
Yeah.
where's Nonna?
Yeah.
You know?
Because you don't look like a nonna. That's why you call
Well,
yourselves a glam. So you know how
Glam
you got yummy mummy? What are you? A born a nonna.
One and Nonna.
Born a nonna. What?
Yeah, no, glamour. Well, I'm still young. I still run around, the kids. And it's like they're almost mine.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
treat them like they're
Well, you're young enough. You still got
mine.
the energy.
Yeah,
yeah. So what's it like being? Because I'm 40. I'll be 49 in a couple of months, and I'm
I'm early 50s.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm so in my So when I'm going to be your age,
Yes,
I'm going to be taking Antonio to school,
yes.
right?
Good luck with that.
But you're
Taking
in your
my
early 50s, taking your grandchildren
Yeah.
to school. So what's it like being a nonna today? I mean, you
Look,
had your
it's-
time as a mum. What's it like being a young nonna? No, because really you could also be a mum to teenagers.
Yeah. I still I've got Lorenzo at home, and I still mother him.
How
you
old's
know.
he?
He's 28.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You know.
Lorenzo, it's time to get your own house.
Yeah. Please hurry. But look, it's really different. I have again an incredible appreciation for children, so I love all of my grandchildren.
Yeah.
And how do you describe it? I know my mother used to say to me, it's just another level of love. Well, yeah, it is, because you give in. And,
right.
I'm on the floor building, Legos or
Yeah.
Duplos or
Yeah.
reading books 3-4 times. When you're a mum, you don't have that time because you're
right.
ready to do this, you're going off to do that.
Yeah.
Where being a nonna now, I've got that time for them.
Yeah.
So it's really, really different. I've just got so much time for my
It's amazing.
grandchildren. It's incredible.
I've seen my dad do things that he never did with us, and he's
and the strict side, it'd be interesting to
forget it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I was to do anything that Antonio does now,
I know what you're
my old
gonna
man
say.
would have lost it. You know what I mean? He would have lost it. And the other thing is, and I'm going to bring this up with him, how excited my dad gets when he sees him,
Yes.
right? I
Yes.
don't remember him ever being excited to see me. What's wrong with me? I feel like
Deprived of that
like what am I?
excitement.
What am I shit? What am I? I'm not good
No,
enough?
no.
Not exciting enough? The
No.
excitement and what about how I think I was telling you earlier. So we were never allowed to go to McDonald's. No way, no chance. No way. If I once I mentioned it, McDonald's, rubbish.
Did you get on scalpel?
Yeah, almost. And he gave me that death stare, which doesn't work today, right?
Yeah.
And then until we're driving, we're going to we're in Sydney, we're near my mum and dad's house, and there's a Macca's at the end of the street. Or in Australia, because there's a lot of people watching from overseas. So in Australia we call it Macca's.
Yes.
In North America they call it Mickey D's.
Oh.
Yeah, Mickey
okay.
D's. That's what they call
Mickey
it.
D's,
Yeah.
right.
Here we call it Macca's. So whereas a McDonald's at the end of the street, we're driving past. Antonio's all excited that he's seen the Golden Arches. We start driving away. He starts crying. My dad, what's wrong? Can double feed you? What's happening? What's wrong? No, he's upset because he can't go to McDonald's. All right, no water. I'll bring it to me. Well, Nonno take you. And I'm like looking at him going, what?
Yeah.
Nonno take you.
Yeah. And you were never allowed.
I was going to get killed for even mentioning the word McDonald's. And now Nonno take you.
Que schifo. They used to say.
It's rubbish. Poison the food. I'll never forget. Poison rubbish. It's rubbish.
Yeah.
Not even to say again.
Yes. That's right.
You know, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that's great. So tell us about In at Lydia's Kitchen, because I was a guest on that show and it was so good cooking it. Are you still in the same home?
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful home.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll never forget you because I'm into appliances. You had Bora.
Yes, gosh, you're good.
You know.
Great memory.
Well,
yeah.
You know, I'm a comedian. That's what we do.
Yes.
We're supposed to have a good memory to remember a lot of stuff. It's our job to remember details. It was because you had that Bora. What I loved about it was you had the stovetop, the hot plate.
Yeah.
But instead of having a range hood above it, it was just on the side, and so
well done,
it was
Joe.
just
My God.
take it away.
How good
and you
are
had
you?
the little knobs down the bottom.
Yep.
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 You know, I've only been to your house twice.
Yeah, it's
but I was
okay.
studying your kitchen
Oh,
and all the marble
you
work.
are there.
You know,
Wow.
Well, because afterwards I built my own home.
Yes.
And it ended,
In Carlton.
Yeah, that's right. You know,
Yeah.
and it ended up being the 4th coolest home in Australia. It got voted last year, or in fact,
Yes, that's
after I
right.
sold it, it got voted the 4th coolest home in Australia. So, you know, there was a lot of, I drew inspiration from all types of homes.
Yeah, I'm glad I gave you inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was
Yeah.
a beautiful home. It is a beautiful home, and your
Thank you.
artwork, fantastic artwork.
Yeah,
as well.
thank you. Yeah,
know.
thank you. Well,
So
Andrew,
tell us about In Lydia's Kitchen. What's that about?
Okay, so again on the Housewives, I've got this passion of food. So they said, "Hey, how about we film a little bit of your food?" And a lot of my food came from inspiration from Nonna and my grandmother, my mum's mum. Actually, all of them did. My former mother-in-law, my former Nonna Schiavello.
Yeah.
My mum is
Yeah.
incredible, and my Nonna Vitali, she's still my angel, you know. So I then thought, I'll clean it up instead of all this deep fried stuff. I'll just do it differently and clean it up. And so I just do my, dishes that I had as a child.
Right.
Today in Lydia's kitchen.
Yeah.
And I'm creative, you know. I add little things and so I have these classes that people book, whether through my Instagram, and they have a couple of hours with me, and we talk about the Housewives, we talk about food, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
I have had the most incredible guests in my kitchen.
Yeah.
And it's still going on.
Yeah.
I haven't been on television since 2017.
Yeah.
And it's still, still people want to come into Lydia's kitchen, and I love it.
Yeah, well, it was a great time. I remember being on there. And,
I love it.
I can't. There was something funny that happened about so I was there, you were there, and there was 2 other people who had paid to be on, or not, or I don't know how it works, but
I think I remember.
And something was funny happened with with one of the people that were on there.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, mate, whether they were a fan of yours or a fan of mine. I can't remember. And anyway, something.
Probably both.
Maybe.
But
Yeah, no, of course, obviously both,
but they were probably shocked. Go, oh my God, there's 2 of you.
Yeah.
Which was pretty amazing.
We have to look back at that episode. We'll try and bring it up and sort of splice it into here.
Isn't it incredible? I still today am humbled by people going, oh my God, you're Lydia. Or, oh my God, here's Joe.
Yeah.
For me, you're like a cousin. I'll give you a big bear hug and nothing.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
And I think that's very important that's what people feel. It's because, and you would have noticed this, when you started to become, sort of popular in the public, all of a sudden, once people see you in that box, the TV, once your face is seen in that, all of a sudden people have this
perception.
this perception
Yeah.
that So I don't want to disturb you. And,
Yeah. Or Lydia's this, or Lydia's that.
You're just a person like everyone else.
Yeah, I
Would you
am.
go and, if you needed to ask someone a question, would you have gone to ask them whether they've been on the TV or not? Yes.
Probably.
So, you know, and they probably think that people constantly come up to you. It's almost like
here are
famous people have different rules, or famous people have different.
I'm like everyone else
how to
on this
describe
planet.
it. Yeah.
I'm like everyone else on this planet. Yes, I've had different privileges, but I also use that celebrity as a voice.
Yep.
If I can help anywhere, I try to use that status in those areas. I don't abuse it at all. But, you know, when people come into my home in Lydia's kitchen, I make it as natural as possible.
Yeah, and they are in your home, right?
Yeah.
So let's make that clear. You know, people are coming to your home. You're giving away your address.
Yes.
You know, and they're coming into your kitchen and they're cooking, and they're eating the food that you're cooking.
I literally cook for them,
Yeah.
and I have a beautiful meal with them.
Yeah.
And want them to have a gorgeous experience, and because I am a normal person that cooks and cleans and does everything else like everyone else.
Yeah.
You know. So, you know, and I get inspired by different dishes. So, you know, coming back from Austria, my winter this year, I'm going to have a little bit of an Austrian twist.
Yeah, sure.
A little bit of goulash and,
You're right.
you know,
Nice.
all of that.
Yeah. Soup.
The apple strudel, oh my God, it was so beautiful. Anyway, so that's what I love to give, a beautiful experience. Mind you, a lot of people come into the kitchen, don't really want to know that much about the food and just want to talk to me.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah.
which is really, really interesting. So, but I've had.
Well, you're an
people-
interesting person. You know, that's
thank you.
why you were
Yeah.
on that show. I'm a big believer in. There's a reason why people do what they do. I mean, you look at Justin Bieber. You look at Britney Spears. Okay.
Yeah.
Now these people don't just happen overnight.
No.
You know, have you ever seen videos of Britney Spears singing when she was a kid? Even Michael Jackson. The other day I saw this video of Michael Jackson. Now we all know he was great.
raw. Yeah.
But I had no idea that he was absolutely amazing as a kid. I thought, you know, maybe he's learned it, he's developed it.
Yeah.
He was doing the moonwalk as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we didn't see it publicly until
Yeah.
years and years later.
Yeah.
So there's a
'Cause
reason
he
why
was
you were on that
surrounded.
show, because of who you are.
He
Now,
was surrounded by incredible people around him.
absolutely. Well, what do they say? That you're the average of the 7 people that you hang around, you know?
Yes.
Hang around dickheads, you're going to be a dickhead, you know?
Yeah.
So I've got 2 more questions. So I always finish off with the last one. But before I do that, is there anything you want to set straight on this podcast? Is there anything, you know, that's been bugging you that you need to talk about, that you want to say, that you have to get off your chest? And maybe there isn't. I thought I'll just give you this opportunity as a platform to say.
Look, no, but, you know, look, I'm a realist,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I'm here and it's completely real. There's nothing, we have not at all rehearsed anything.
No.
In fact,
I haven't even looked at my notes. I've got all these notes here.
I came here to your home and I made coffee for myself in a.
You did, because I stuffed it up.
Yeah, you did.
I
You
burnt it. I
burnt
put it on
coffee.
boost.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm a realist and, you know, that's how I think being humble and being real to yourself is really, really important, you know.
Well, that leads into my next question, well, the last question is, what do you do every day to live your best life? Well, you know, what motivates you? You know, do you exercise, or do you have a special ritual?
Yep.
What do you do? What does Lydia do to make her tick?
So 2023, I've decided to do a little bit of Lydia time because I'm a giver and I give a lot to everybody, especially my family and children and grandchildren. I have older parents, you know, 70s, and my dad's, you know, now 81. So I look after a lot, and I've got a mother-in-law that's 92, still drives a manual car and is incredible.
Wow. Was it Andrew's mum?
Andrew's mum.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, she's amazing. So what do? I exercise a few times a week with a trainer.
It's important.
I've got Andy from Cremorne. He is incredible.
How incredible is Andy from Cremorne?
Really
Yeah.
incredible.
Okay.
Are you?
I'm just taking the piss.
You take it? Oh my God. You have no idea. I'm excited to go to this gym because it's so damn cool. No one disturbs you. No one
Did
looks
Andrew
at you.
have a say about how incredible...
Andrew or Andy? Andrew, my husband, or
Andrew,
Andy?
did Andrew have a say into how incredible Andy was allowed to be?
No.
You know, all these blokes, you know,
My wasp
sending their wives to their...
No, my waspy husband, he's so cool. He's at work doing his drawing, architecture stuff.
And you're all with Andy from Cremorne.
Yes, he is insane. Anyway, I love going there. I've been
Andrew,
going there.
have we approved? Have we okay with this?
Yeah.
I don't mean approve.
And so I exercise.
Yeah.
I do help my husband Andrew quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know,
He's a great guy. He's such
amazing.
a nice guy.
He's so funny.
Yeah. He's funny. He's got a great... Yeah, he's really cool.
Yeah, and I've made him cooler.
Okay.
He'll probably go, what? It's
You've
true.
made him fun cooler.
Yeah, I have.
But
But
sorry, that was
look,
a,
what do I
that was a
do?
bad joke,
I
wasn't it? That was
keep
a dad
myself.
joke.
I'm keeping myself fit.
Yeah.
And I'm very inspired, you know, by many things.
Yeah.
I have few projects on the go. I'm, you know, looking for new things all the time. So I'm sort of semi-retired, ready to get into some things.
Right.
So, but yeah, there are a couple of things rolling. I can't mention
Okay,
right
fair
now.
enough, but we'll see them coming out.
Yeah, of course. I'm
Well,
sure
hopefully,
we'll have
I get a
another-
chance to come, you know, onto In Lydia's Kitchen again.
Yeah,
because my cooking
absolutely.
skills have become much better since then.
Do you want to come and cook with me?
Absolutely,
That'd
I will.
be amazing,
Yeah,
Ken.
no, absolutely, I will. I love it.
I'd love to.
I love, you know.
Bring
it's-
Marcello with you.
Yeah, Marcello can come. He can film it all.
Yeah.
Because how did it get filmed? Someone was filming it on a. Who was filming it?
I
Can't
forget.
remember.
It was so long ago.
Brooke was there. Brooke Wieselman.
Oh my God, my goddaughter that
Yeah,
now has
who has
twins.
twins.
Oh my God, they are.
She's a lot of fun, Brooke.
She is
Yeah.
so beautiful and,
Yeah,
and
she's
married to David
David,
Pacini.
yeah. So thanks very much for coming on Joe's podcast.
My
And
pleasure.
I hope to be soon in Lydia's kitchen.
Thank you, Joe.
And it's been a great chat, and I hope I'm sure our listeners and viewers are going to enjoy it. And we hope to see you on TV again. Maybe.
Thank you. Yeah, I do
know?
too. Be a lot of fun.
Great. Thanks for coming.
My pleasure. Ciao for now.
Ciao for now. Hi, this is Joe Avati, and I am very proud to say that I am now one of the brand ambassadors for Elite Supplements. One of the supplements I take every day is resveratrol, an anti-aging supplement. You know how they say that 1 glass a day of wine is good for you? It's because it's got resveratrol in it. But do you know how much wine you actually have to drink to get any benefit of it? 11 litres. Now, it doesn't take Einstein to figure out that if you're drinking 11 litres of wine a day, you ain't going to be around long enough to see any benefit. So make sure you get your supplements from Elite Supplements. Resveratrol worked for me. Look how young I look. And I'm 73.